right, everybody, welcome to Coffee for Closers. Alex Wellings here. I've got a pretty darn special. I'm so excited. Today is a very, very special day on the show. This has been something that's been in the mix for a long time. We've talked about it, how we wanted to go about it for almost maybe a couple years. And something fell into our lap recently that really inspired us to orchestrate an entirely new program centered around the conversation that's become more and more popular in our industry over the last 2 years especially, but really since maybe the beginning of maybe like 2012, I want to say, right around that time when the new tax cuts came into effect. Actually, that might have been a little later on in 2012. Either way, we've got 2016 maybe. Was it 2016, Trent?
I think it was about,
2016, something like that. Anyway, we've broken the secret a little bit. I've got Mr. Trent Dransfield here, and we're talking all about structuring tax-free in our retirements, using life insurance, but it's different than that. It's more than that. It's deeper than that with Trent, and that's why we went with Trent when we started to talk with him and said, who's going to kind of be the quarterback of this and who has a foundation of a solid process. Trent had something even more special to talk about, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Thanks first and foremost, Trent, for being on the show.
Heck yeah.
You can tell I'm excited about this, but we were talking in our office or in my office before this, and you'd gone into detail quite substantially about your foundational approach,
sure,
how you start off in this in your program, in your world, how you structure the sales process thereafter, your teaching methods, and what you plan to, or what you'd like to leave as a legacy in the industry, right, over the next 5-10 years of your career, maybe longer, hopefully longer.
You bet.
But today I wanted to break that down. So thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely. Happy to be here, and we'll dive into a lot of crazy stuff. One thing that we'll talk about is, I started off in the medical field for 10 years as a physical therapist guy.
Okay.
It took me about 9 years to get to that point, and then I started doing what everyone else told me to do.
Yeah.
Go out, get your career in the medical, stuff like that. But over the course of the years, how many times are we sitting here saying, what am I going to do that's really my mojo? What will make me tick?
Right.
And so I got enveloped in this financial industry as a part-time hobby 21 years ago.
No kidding.
And I still had a lot of these dreams that I wanted to participate in. So I started doing benefit concerts and I wanted to score music for film and commercial and perform and all this fun stuff. And yet I was doing these other things. So over the years, this is the bottom line that I've learned is now I go out there and I represent a lot of people being a life coach to tell them you've got to be doing things that really make you go.
Yeah, something that you're excited about.
Absolutely. Yeah. So years ago, I started branching off that way. And in this industry, how can we bring that, bring the excitement to life? I mean, how many people in this industry are really getting what they want out of life? And people might say, well, why are you bringing this up? Because this is financial industry and so forth. The whole point is this: if you have not cleaned from the inside out, if you're not internalizing to going external,
right?
In this field, what I see that's a large problem is I feel like we're always going out to get new product.
Yep.
Okay, now I'm going to memorize that. Now I'm going to get this new product. This does this and this. So about 14 years ago, I started life coaching. I have my own life coaching that I do. One of the situations or the teaching moments that I do is a live event called Start Your Engine.
Yeah.
And that is a 2-day course where I teach people to go from the inside out.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll sit there at conventions and I'll have someone come up with an orange and I'll say, do me a favor, squeeze this as hard as you can. I'll give you $100,000 if grape juice comes out of that. Ha, 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 yeah. And it doesn't happen, but the point is you may not see it, but if you're not cleansed from the inside out, whether you're meeting with a client, you're portraying that you're sugarcoating a certain angle, but
Sure.
you have got to be clean from the inside out. So what I do is I say, first off, clean yourself out, so to speak.
Sure. So if you're an advisor and you're coming into the program, or this is something that you might be interested in doing, your program starts them by getting them jazzed up and cleaning out all what is it fair to say, like
baggage whatever, sure,
and bad thoughts and negativity and,
sure,
and cobwebs.
I mean, the thing that scares me is right now they did a statistic. And they said we have, I believe it was over, 80,000 thoughts come into our head per day.
Mm.
And I don't know who analyzed this. I like that word a lot, but they analyzed it and said 72% of that is negative thought.
Oh, geez.
And so the question is, what are we doing to buoy up and armor ourselves to fight that?
Mm.
And a lot of us are unconscious in our thinking. We're not. So we just go through the day. We wake up.
For sure.
We might trip on that, fall down and blame and yell. And maybe we went to bed that night and watched negative media the whole night. Well, if people understand the power of what subconscious can do, or what you feed your subconscious, whether it's negative or positive, when you're going into this field, there's so much more than just understanding product and setting up my day and having my annual reviews and knowing how to present this. Oh, it goes so much deeper than that. So what I do is like to teach people, you've got to go from the inside out. So like when I do that training, Start Your Engine, it's a 2-day training where they are taking a really deep look about how they're living their life. And is it meaningful? Mm-hmm. This pertains to work, religion, relationship building, emotional, you name it.
And they leave that feeling what? I mean, they leave that feeling like
they're ready to conquer their dreams.
My gosh, I really feel rejuvenated about the financial world. It's kind of falling. I mean, I'd say a lot of folks potentially watching this, if they're watching this, they likely got a promotion about, taking a look at tax-free retirement, but they're probably shocked to hear this now. They're like, Oh my gosh, that's me. I've been making the same sale over and over, the same conversation over and over. And while I feel like I'm doing well for my clients, am I doing everything I can be doing? I'm bored. I'm, maybe less passionate than I was when I first started out. And so you're saying the best thing that they can do to get reinvigorated is to clear all that baggage out.
Oh, yeah. I take them on a 2-day course where they get to go on their own voyage to find out what's holding them back from greatness.
Yeah.
What are their dreams that they did acquire or get, or which ones have they not and why?
Right.
What's holding them back? Those types of things. Some people will come out and say, well, I want to make this much.
Sure.
It has nothing to do with money, because the thing is, when you elevate yourself to your purpose and you gravitate, it enhances a whole level of joy. When you have joy and fun in what you're doing,
yes,
that has an emotional energy attached to it. So when you're raising your vibration, like attracts like. So then you're attracting all this good stuff. And so imagine someone that comes in, humdrum, says, yeah, I got another day. I've got 3 more clients to deal with. That energy is poisonous. Yeah. And isn't it interesting that next appointment might be a negative aura around it, or wow, why did that happen?
Yeah.
Well,
that's so
we
true.
create. We don't just follow steps. We are actually creating, whether we like it or not. So when I tell people, everything that happens to you is a direct reflection of you. And some of them don't like to hear that, because a lot of people out there, they love to use victim, excuse. That's a big one.
Yeah.
This is my excuse. That's why I couldn't have it happen. I'm going to blame.
Yeah.
The higher power, the better way to move forward with this is saying, you know what? I'll take accountability. I'm going to go ahead and I'll step left.
Yep.
And I will create a different result because I know who I am, and that person has the ability to take steps in becoming the master of getting it done.
So like stepping left is like to what? Looking introspectively at what's happened and
or literally, let's say if I remember years ago working in physical therapy and I met this guy named Mike. He's another PT.
Okay.
We'll leave his last name out, obviously.
Protect the innocent.
Mike would say, you know what? I can't stand this field. And here comes the excuses, the blame, everything else. And one day I looked at Mike and I said, Mike, what's holding you back from doing those other things? Here comes the excuses. Oh, we got to have health care. We got to have our insurance.
Family bills, house. Yeah.
And if Mike would have realized, you know what, it's going to get uncomfortable. I'm going to step left. Well, guess what? When you get uncomfortable, you'll become comfortable. Right. And a lot of people say, I don't want to get uncomfortable, and thus they'll stay comfortable. Well, guess what? Eventually, that comfort will be a little bit agitating. Mm-hmm. And so I tell people, always stay uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that might not resonate with them.
Yeah.
But when you're uncomfortable, you're willing to learn and to progress. And that's why we're here on this planet Earth, I feel. We're here to learn and progress. And our spirits, our gut feelings, whatever we want to call it, they want to go that direction.
Right.
So it's really cool because, again, my whole thing is we've got to have a purpose in what we do. And so if we go from the inside out and we really take on these golden nuggets and learn them and master them, I call it using the tools in your toolbox. Mm-hmm. And so literally when you're meeting with people, I can watch, for example, your body language or someone else's and go, okay, what tool can I use to disengage their body language and open them up, if you will.
Open arms appointments. And
sure. The other one is connection. Body language, eye to eye is the gateway to heaven, is what people sometimes say. Mm-hmm. And so am I really having a conversation with them, or am I looking down, or am I crossing my legs or crossing my arms?
Right.
Or am I looking off to the side looking for another answer?
Right.
Or looking down.
Sure.
When I look down, I might be pulling out negative emotion from baggage or whatnot. So, I mean, there's so much.
There is so much in body language. What I hear when you say it starts with this, start your engines life coaching event or this 2-day event. I mean, that might scare some people to think, oh, I got to do this thing to get to the sales process thing. But it's on the, maybe an oversimplification, but it feels like a stripping down of all of this negativity that you've built up over years and years. It's like when we look to hire people, at least over here, we're looking to hire people that are green, not because we want to take somebody that, obviously there would be benefits to having somebody with experience and, knowledge on a certain topic. But the problem there is a lot of times in the wholesale world is the people have a way of doing things and they have a stigma about certain things, or they have this negative energy on so many different things. And what you're kind of talking about with the Start Your Engines event, or the first part of your sales, your program approach, it's maybe a failure to call it just a sales program. It's not that. It's an unearthing or a rejuvenation of their career. You're stripping them of this negativity and making them moldable clay again.
Well, the first thing is here's the good news.
Right.
I can't do anything. I'll be the facilitator, but the good news is they're breaking through to have those moments of exactly what you said, stripping away. And you're exactly right. A lot of people, Tony Robbins talks about this too. People get in a norm, subconsciously they'll go back, whether it was working, we'll call it a house. Let's say their house was full of worry. We'll call it the worry house. Mm-hmm. And they're living their life and they might say, this is not working for me. But subconsciously, they start migrating back to the worry house.
Really?
They worry because they just worry and they do it all the time. They're in this fixed house that they continually do. And so subconscious says, well, I'm used to that. Let's get back to the house. Mm-hmm. And so in order to consciously say, man, I've got to break away from that pattern because it's toxic, it's not working, what are the steps in order to do that? This is where we become a master of understanding that, because it's going to look a different way. It's going to feel a different way. An example is this. In physical therapy, if I sit up really nice and tall, diaphragmatic breathing and really good posture, and I hold that, and I'm used to slouching, my body in kinesiology will say, okay, that feels really weird. I'm going to go back to my quote norm.
Right. You start to
and I'm
slouch.
slouching.
Right.
But if I master that I'm in a position where I'm sitting up in a very good posture for a period of time, what happens? Well, I go into the slouch position and my body says,
you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, you're not comfortable. Get back.
Yeah.
I think the same thing happens unconsciously in our lifestyle.
Yeah.
Is, this feels a little uncomfortable. And what happens is this ego mind, this reticular activating system up there says, are you sure you want to do this? Because the mind, actually, they've done studies and said a lot of people, they're scared to get a goal. And I'll tell you why. When they say, I'm going to set that goal, the mind can say, well, what happens next? If you reach that goal, you die. And we don't want to die. It's like the story of people that say, I'm freezing to death.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to die.
Right.
But your mind even says subconsciously, well, you're freezing to death. And so the same thing plays out. So it's pretty interesting of how we're feeding our minds. And
it is. I mean, it makes so much sense too. We do a lot of sales training. Like we have a program in the federal program, which you know about.
Sure.
And a lot of the hardships there in as far as people being successful at that is the second the going gets tough, they retract.
Sure.
They bail on what we know to be a successful sales process. If you follow this, you will succeed. If you say the words that we're saying to you, you will succeed. In fact, we put money back guarantees on it. We're like, hey, look, we'll guarantee that you'll make sales, or we'll give every little bit of investment you had to make back to you, right? That has been the number one issue over the years of the program, has been a reluctance of the advisor willing to persevere. And it has a lot to do with a positive mindset, willing to persevere at the first sign of trouble, the first time of panic, or, I don't know if I did that right. And instead of accepting that maybe I need to cut my teeth here and just learn a lesson, I'm just going to recluse back to what I usually do.
Yep.
And then I fail again. And it's this self-perpetuating thing. You know what? That didn't work. It's a crap system. It doesn't work.
Yep.
But the people that are in a positive mindset said, this has to work for me. This is something I know is going to work. And they maybe see some early success to some degree. Those folks, they light the world on fire.
You look at one of my dreams was to be a motivational speaker, life coach, which I'm doing now on the side. And we didn't have a lot of money at that time, this particular time. And I told my wife, Les Brown is this magnificent leader out there. I want to go study with him. Well, he happened to be over in Paris, or excuse me, Rome.
I don't know Les Brown.
Kind of like a Zig Ziglar.
Okay. All right.
Very big, well-renowned. He's a great
public speaking figure. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Motivational speaker and all this stuff.
So
anyway, so we said, let's do it. Let's take the jump, pull some savings out. We flew over to Rome just to study with him for a day.
Wow.
We had about 2,000 in the room. And back then we had the good old Polaroid, the cameras.
The shaking?
Yeah.
He's shaking
Yeah.
the Polaroid?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
All right.
And I told my wife, I said, guess what? He's going to exit. And I have a dream that I am going to run up there and he will want to get a picture with me.
Wow.
And so we ran and we finally got up there and he was exiting the stage and I yelled out, Les, my name is Trent and I deserve a picture with you. And as soon as he heard the word deserve, he stopped in his tracks, turned to the right, and he said, "I like your words." And
That's
he
a
motioned
unique-
me to get
yeah.
a picture with him. And that picture I have at home. And that's my motivator sometimes to say, you know what?
Yeah.
I was willing to fly over there. And that day, that experience told me, you've got this.
Yeah.
You can do this.
Yeah.
And so, like you were saying, as I look at Les Brown and I look at all these wonderful people out there, they were willing to pay the price.
Yeah.
They may not have known it all, but the question is to the agents, to the advisors, we'll say, are you really willing, number one, to pay the ultimate price? And number two, are you clear? Are you clear on what you really want? A lot of people are not clear.
Yeah. They
And so
haven't
what
figured out that
happens
why.
is, they're manifesting all these different chaos results because their subconscious, their thought process was all over the place.
Yes.
Your results will always, always, always be a direct reflection of your thought process. Your thought process begins. It then evokes an emotion, whether it's positive or negative, which then moves to an action. And that action will then create the result. And so if I want to change my life, I know where to start.
Right.
I'm going to reprogram my thought process. So when I do that 2-day training, I don't care if they're a doctor or a financial financial advisor or CPA or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We've got to find out if they're getting the results that they want. And if they're not, it's time to reprogram.
Yep.
And so that's where I teach them these golden nuggets of mathematical formulas, things that really work to get them where they want.
Yeah. And I mean, when I think about where you were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe longer than that, when did you really start doing the life sales? 2-3 years ago?
You know, I started publicly about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I had nibbled for about 7 years and finally said, you know what? I mean, I'm
not getting the result I want there.
Yeah,
I'm going to reset.
I did I'm not the perfectionist here.
Yeah.
I realized, you know what? Where am I with my life?
Right.
I know what my purpose is. My purpose, I am crystal clear. I say this every day.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to say, okay, and I say this every day. My purpose is I inspire and I uplift.
Yeah.
By being a loving, powerful, radiant man of light, I create a world of passion and excitement with an abundance of energy and love. And so it is. And I say that every single day.
I love that.
Probably
That's great.
20 times. Now, here's the thing. We'll call it spirit. If my spirit says, you know what, you're not really in alignment, you've got to do things that really promote that you are inspiring and uplifting. What are you going to do?
Right.
And I tell people, it is so imperative that you're feeding your mind with your story, even if it's make-believe, right before you go to bed. Here's why. So I read this thing that I teach my students called My Life. And you read it in detail as if it's already playing out. Even if it hasn't, maybe 80% of that is not even played out in my life. But when I read that and I go through this in detail with emotion, I go to bed. Well, here's what's really cool. You and I, our conscious goes to bed. Our subconscious keeps ticking time and time again, 24/7.
Yeah.
So when I go to bed, I just fed my subconscious a lot of yummy stuff. And so isn't it interesting? I'll wake up or I'll have a quote dream about this new enlightened idea. And I have my pen and paper right there on my nightstand ready to rock.
Really?
And it's amazing how things percolate or come out that now I'm going to take action on it. I had these thoughts come to me. I've got great emotion. I visualize my life like you wouldn't believe all the time.
Yeah.
I do that everywhere I go, on the plane ride, on the drive, listening to deep meditation music and just visualizing every sector of my life, including my profession in financial planning.
Yeah.
How many of the agents, here's a question for all of you guys out there. How many of you visualize your outcome before that client walks in?
Oh, I'd say slim to none. A lot of times folks are calling us 13 minutes before their appointment looking for an illustration and
Sure,
just had done
sure.
no prep whatsoever, and
Yeah.
looking for a quick consult before they go in. I mean,
Yeah.
I doubt they have time to do that.
I remember one time, it was years ago. It was about 14 years ago. I was in Southern Utah. I was ready to go into my appointment. I had just done all these trainings with some big wigs, motivational speakers, and we were learning about the power of positive affirmation. And I made a commitment. I said, before every appointment, I'm going to walk into the bathroom, shut the stall. I'll be a little bit quiet. I don't want to harass people in there.
Sure.
And I remember thinking specifically, this appointment's going to be so amazing. And I put out like 2 or 3 words like invigorating and aha or something like that. I go into the appointment. This brought me to tears after they left. While we're finishing up, the future client leans over and he goes, "I got to tell you, you were very inspiring and aha." He said the 2 exact words, words that I had put in before I met him. And when he left the room and he became a client, I kind of teared up and I said, whoa,
that's powerful.
That just taught me that what we think about, we bring about.
What we think about, we bring about.
And so I'm sitting there going, okay, I got to be careful.
Yeah.
I got to be really careful here. That is huge.
Yeah.
And so every day I've got to be consciously living physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally.
Yeah.
I've got to be in my game. And then the other thing that I really love is allow it to just happen. Sometimes people are so caught up with how to that you might lose the opportunity.
Yeah.
Like us being present right now.
For sure.
We're not following a script. We're just being in the moment.
Well, that's why people love this form of this medium, right? It's like because it is so real and obviously unscripted, and and that's why I say before we came on is like, let's stop talking.
Yeah.
Because every inch you talk prior to being on the mic is one less interested thing that I can genuinely be interested about.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, as far as maybe not genuinely being interested, but being first time interested. Wait, how does that work?
Yeah.
Wait, how does that? Oh my goodness. Okay, wow. And being present is the only way.
Yeah, and the thing is everything that I talk and I coach, these are things that I've had to go through and experiment myself.
Right.
Or have those experiences.
Right.
And again, I just really feel like it's so enlightening to have so many bumps and bruises along the way.
It is.
And instead of saying, why did that happen, and give it a negative connotation, I can say, thank you, what did I learn?
Right.
How many people, when they have a rough day, how powerful are they to say, you know what? Thanks for that experience. What did I learn?
Yeah.
And give it gratitude instead of negativity. Because again,
but that's why they do that 2-day training with you, right? They got to be able to give it gratitude,
This is what I've been doing with a lot of groups, corporate events is, okay, you might be Pepsi, you might be the biggest financial firm in the US.
Sure.
But the thing is when you're able to really take a step back and slow down, you're actually going to speed up.
Yep.
Because you're going to look at yourself internally and then your production in every sense. The relationships with your team.
Yes.
The relationships with your family.
Yes.
The connection with your clients.
Yes.
These clients, this is what I've learned years ago is this sounds kind of cheesy, but it is so big. I was being interviewed one time. We were a small branch and we were in the top 1% in the US, and they said, "Why are you having so much success?" And they laughed at me, and I knew they would. And it didn't matter. I didn't care what they thought. I knew this to be true. They said, "What's the key component?" And I said, "It's LOVE. It's love." All you need is love. But here's the deal. People want to have 2 things all the time. Number 1, they want to give love.
Yep.
And they want to be loved.
Sure.
And they'll do that in the form of, even if they're not getting enough attention and love, they might go do a crime just to be on the newspaper to say, look at me, I've got some attention here.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that was a good analogy, but
No, I mean, it speaks truth. I mean, it speaks volumes. I mean,
it's just, so if someone were to say, how do I increase my productivity in my business? It's simple. I want you to put away all your papers.
Yep.
I want you to put away all your algorithms.
Yep.
I want you to put away all of your applications. And I want you, when that client walks in, do me a favor. I want you to connect eye to eye and just get to know them. And I want you to zap them with as much love as you can do.
Yeah.
And just get to know them and love them. And
Yeah.
don't even have any pretense, because just like that orange with the grape juice, they're going to fill your grape juice
Right.
or your orange juice.
The best agenda is no agenda, right? It's like,
Right.
just we're here to
Just-
sit down and talk. And
Yeah. And if you really want to serve someone,
yep.
one of the statements my mentor taught me years ago is, when you have no expectations, this is one golden nugget I hope people memorize. When you have no expectations, you're never let down.
So true.
Now, I didn't say don't have any goals,
Sure.
but the nice thing is just trust the process.
Yeah. The goals are there. This is expectation you're talking
Sure.
about. What do I expect out of this? And when you have no expectations, you're never let down. It doesn't mean you're not moving towards your goals.
Absolutely.
For sure. I agree with that.
You know, I think you can either go up the river
Yeah.
paddling with a toothpick,
Yeah.
or you can allow the river to just take you down that course
Sure.
and trust the process.
Yeah.
And sometimes in this career,
Yep.
it's okay to trust the process. Another thing that I tell people is, when you want to be most successful and you know who you are, simply be.
Yeah.
Don't try to become, just be who you are.
Right.
So, you know, we all have our personalities. When Alex is being his Alex guy, people resonate and they love that.
Right.
If you're trying to be Trent, it's going to be scary,
Sure. Yeah.
and vice versa. So when we simply be
Who we
our
are.
unique person
Yeah.
in the field, you know, I love laughing with my clients. I love telling them I'm a nerd. I like to tell them my shortcomings,
Sure.
and they
Likewise.
actually enjoy that.
Yeah.
So
I feel that deeply, man. I you know, until we started truly being as transparent as possible, and you know, not that we weren't before, but really kind of putting on display not just who we were on this show,
Sure.
but also company culture videos and everything like that. We saw way more resonance with the field advisors out there interested in understanding, like, man, that is an infectious culture,
Yeah.
right? And you know, I've seen that here. I think this what you're talking about being the foundation of being successful in your program is this reset, this rejuvenation, this excitement, this willingness to persevere in the shadows of maybe doubt and everything like that. You know.
And the other thing too is, it's so exciting
Yeah.
for me to watch these students
Yeah.
gravitate to where they're breaking through. They're
Oh, for
becoming.
sure. I imagine it's incredible.
Oh, it's awesome. I had one guy that went through the training for his situation.
Yeah.
I think he was in human resources or something like that. And
Sure.
his focus was attracting more money. So we did the law of attraction and did some homework and stuff.
Yes.
He came back, it was like less than 2 weeks later, with a check in his hand for $10,000.
Wow.
Gave me a big hug, started crying. He says, I can't believe it. Look at this.
Wow.
And he was probably making about $40,000-$50,000 a year. They needed to have X amount of money within a period of time. This time, the difference was he believed it, he
Yep.
achieved it. And so there's so much about it. We were talking
it's a
earlier.
secret, you know.
Yeah,
You put it out there.
Yeah.
This is a great documentary. I mean, if you guys haven't watched it, it is a fantastic documentary about
Absolutely.
the power of positive thinking. But so you get into life insurance after that, right? So once you've laid the foundation of you know, hey, this is the mindset we need to be in, and helping them have breakthroughs and get rejuvenated about their ambitions and finding their true whys, it's time for them to start learning this life sale, right?
Absolutely.
if that at that point is what they want, right? If it at that point is that they want to truly help their clients in a different way, or, it's helping them see the light of this.
Do you want me to break into that for a little bit? How's our time?
We're good on time. I mean, but I would say, it becomes, maybe in another episode we'll summation, the exact process, because I want people to feel the life process in it, as they're moving forward. But what, maybe tease them about what you've been able to accomplish since, obviously you've had this foundation for almost darn near your whole career, right? But then afterwards you go in and you say, all right, I'm going to dedicate, I see the light here on this life insurance conversation, and now I'm going to dedicate it to it. I'm going to dedicate myself to helping my clients, as you were saying earlier, finish this plan that I've put in place for them. And you start talking to them about it, and talk to them about the success that you've had there. So
there was a huge breakthrough about 3.5 years ago. I was doing a lecture and some continuing ed with a gentleman that was really open, shed the light really well with me on the power of tax-free and life insurance. And so when he was done, I remember driving home, and that night before that I drove, I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, crap, I have not completed the plan for my clients, over 400 clients, 3 different offices. I have not completed the plan. Now, that doesn't mean I was unethical. No. What that means is, for the tools I had in my toolbox, I felt like I was doing A-okay.
Yeah.
I walked out and I realized I have not completed the plan. I have kept, even myself, with my planning, I'm at the 10-yard line.
Yeah.
And my mom and these clients. And so when I came home, I told you earlier that I came from a physical therapy background. And in PT, what we learned is you want to address the underlying problem. I did not want to be a surgeon or a doctor. I was thinking that direction, but I didn't like prescription pills all the time, because what it did, and I actually still treat patients as a volunteer, but what happens is I don't like Band-Aids or pills. I'm saying there's a purpose and a time. I understand there's a time that can be utilized, but
sure.
But let's say that you had a rotator cuff tear, you get a cortisone shot, or you have pills.
It's just masking the injury. It's not really doing anything.
You might be tearing or flaring up that tendon of the bicipital tendon.
Okay.
And all of a sudden we're getting more than tendonitis. We're getting a flare up, and that pill or the cortisone or whatever it did, it's masking it. So here's the question. Okay, I want to have objective results. What are the underlying problems in the financial field? Aha. So what I did is I went back and did some studies and realized, and I talk about this in more detail, but I say, wow, there are 4 items or criteria that I see are a major problem. And I'm not going to say all 4 of them. We'll leave that to the alluding next one. Yeah. But one of them is taxes.
Sure.
And so when I went and studied the taxation of the U.S. history, I realized we are at a low tax rate.
Yeah.
What am I doing right now to resolve that problem?
Sure.
And I had to drive home and say nothing.
Right.
Because my fixed belief paradigm said taxes are normal, just like other things.
Yeah.
It's normal.
It is what it is.
Fees are normal, those kind of things. And so I just let it be. Sure. This time I said, no more.
Yeah.
And so I understand the power of a Roth IRA, and that was created in the 80s from the government, but you're limited. You can only put so much in.
Yep.
And so what if you had an unregulated Roth on steroids? Sure. Aha. And that's the envelope of life. So I talk about the procedure and all the details of that, but let me just tell you a winding conclusion of this. I went back, and before that year, I had written $5,000 in 2 years in premium in life, because I didn't fully understand it, number one.
Yeah.
This time, my why was strong. The why needs to be planted within. I've got to know why it's valuable and how you should use this. Now I understand the purpose of it. It's time to step it up. So I told my assistants, I want you to set up annual reviews for me for the whole year. No more spending money on marketing or workshops, any of that. Done.
Yes.
So here we go with 300 to 400 clients, and I probably had 20% of them, 25% coming in. In 1 year, within 9 months, we wrote almost $900,000 of premium in life. Now, the reason that happened is I've got to have a fervent belief why I'm doing this and how it will really make an impact. That's
Sure.
an ethical approach that I
Passionate
needed.
about it.
Yeah.
Deeply passionate that this is what needs to happen.
When you're passionate about something and you get it,
Yeah.
people get it.
For sure. I agree with that.
And so the beauty about this is it was, I kid you not, and I told you earlier, 10 times easier to have this discussion or conversation than even talking about a safe fixed indexed account.
I don't doubt it.
And so it was so fun because clients would come in, we would sit at a round table, and I would sit back and just casually say, let's have a conversation.
Right.
And that's where it began. And so there's a process, and that process really gravitated and worked.
Yeah.
You get to the point where these clients are saying, when can we meet again? Or here's what's cool. When can you talk to our children and our family about this?
Wow.
And we've been doing that with Zoom and everything else. So
And it started just with your own clients.
yeah,
And it's bled into
there's a
everything
purpose
else.
involved now where
Yeah.
it's multi-generational planning.
Sure.
And it's not just, okay, I took care of mom and
Right.
dad and we're done.
Well, you can do that too. Once
Sure.
the inheritance is kind of more defined, and when you eliminate taxes, it becomes more defined, right? Like when you start to limit some of these, draining effects on inherited wealth, right? And
Yeah,
life
so
insurance can provide that.
It's been beautiful because you're having a real conversation about the underlying problems,
Yep.
just like physical therapy, but now we're bringing up solutions.
Yeah,
and I'll
serious
say to my
solutions.
clients, you're at the 10-yard line, and I'll hold a football in my hand and say,
Yeah.
will you allow me the permission slip to get to the end zone with you? And every single time they say,
Of course.
yeah, let's do it. What do we do?
Let's do it.
So
Well, I look in an effort not to dive too deep and give any of the secret juju. We'll cap it there. But
okay.
if you're watching and you just listen to this, there's a lot that was just said. But at the end of the day, we're talking about an opportunity to reset your career on a path where you're excited and energized. But then on the backside of it, taking that newfound energy, having a life or have a conversation with your clients that's truly addressing some of the most underlying issues of retirement today. And I'd argue that majority of advisors are starting to see that now. I've never seen the field in my short time in the industry more inclined to have Roth conversion conversations talking about just tax-free retirement money. And we're not talking about non-guaranteed strategies out there that if left unattended to over the next 20 years could blow up on your client, and that's the scare, that's the fear of a lot of advisors going in and starting to structure LARPs or life insurance retirement plans, right? Is that it's going to blow up and they're going to have egg on their face or something like that. But that's not how you've structured it, which is why we really wanted to hitch our wagon to you and say, hey, look, Trent, teach us, please.
Yeah.
How do advisors legitimately, solve for these problems that are undoubtedly the problems that will plague the future retiree?
Absolutely.
You know?
And it's crucial that, this is definitely not a shoot from the hip. This is
No.
a structured environment to where it's structured appropriately to where it'll utilize the cash value aggressively for the clients.
Yeah.
And get these other benefits for them as well. And
sure.
they can still keep their nest egg of all their accounts open. And I teach.
They don't lose
Yeah.
anything. They're not having to sacrifice left and right.
Sure.
There's not this or that.
Yep.
It's a new investment.
It's just creating a new
strategy.
bucket of repositioning from other accounts you already have. But guess what?
Yeah.
This one could be leveraging a lot quicker in a shorter amount of time with a guaranteed number that their family owns, not just them now, it's the family.
Yeah. It's a legacy play as much as it's as a tool in their own retirement.
Absolutely.
It's a conversation that we're having so frequently now. And, I'm so excited to learn more, and at a risk again of diving too much into it. What I already know about your process is exciting. So if you're watching this and you have any interest at all in learning more about Trent's program, his coaching, his strategies, we have a whole series kind of unearthing the process here for you. And if you want to find out more, I urge you to reach out to Megastar Advisors. Talk to us a little bit about what kind of the requirements of the program are and how you can get started today. One of our representatives would be happy to talk with you on that sort of, or any questions that you might have. In the meantime, Trent, thank you so much
Absolutely.
for sharing your wisdoms and your a little bit of history on your career.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited to take this journey with you. I know the whole team here is very excited to have you. And so if you're watching, feel free to reach out to Megastar Advisors. The number should be popping up right on your screen right now. We thank you for watching. We'll see you right here next time on Coffee with Closers. Thanks, Trent.
You bet.